Okay, so if you own a pet in France, or you're thinking about it, you obviously know the emotional side of things. Today, though, we're diving deep into the financial risk. It's all about pet insurance in France, which is surprisingly crucial. We've pulled together the latest market intel for 2025, really aiming to give you the ultimate shortcut here.
Yeah, it's vital to get this straight away. Unlike human healthcare in France, vet care, it's
Yeah.
totally private. That means, well, absolutely zero public money back. Nothing. A standard checkup might already set you back, say, 30 to 50 euro.
Okay.
But if something serious happens, surgery, long-term treatment, those bills can honestly shoot past 1,500 euros without breaking a sweat. It's just this massive, unprotected financial risk you're carrying.
And here's a key point, isn't it? How different it is from human medical costs. These vet fees, they're completely unregulated. The data we looked at even mentioned, historically, they got hit with the full 19.6% VAT. That lack of regulation must cause huge swings in price regionally.
It absolutely does. We saw figures showing like a basic dog consultation could be as low as 19 euro up in the Northeast. But then you go to Paris and suddenly you might be looking at 69 euros for the very same thing.
Wow, big difference.
Exactly. And this, uncertainty around costs is precisely why managing that risk is so important. So our goal today is really to give you a full picture of this French pet insurance market. It's evolving fast. We'll compare the main players, spell out the key costs, and cover what you need to know to even sign up.
Right. Let's talk numbers first. What's the initial investment like? The latest research suggests French owners are spending, on average, 584 euro a year just for dog insurance and 429 day for a cat. Now, that sounds like quite a bit up front. Why do the sources argue this isn't just a cost, but actually a critical investment?
Well, it's basically your safety net against financial shock. Because think about it, the total cost without insurance, food, toys, routine visits, you're already spending maybe 1,000 euro to 2,500 euro a year for a dog. And that's assuming nothing major goes wrong. The insurance is really there to protect you from a disaster scenario. Like, say, an emergency hospital stay for poisoning costs 800 euro. A decent policy means you'd likely get 80%, maybe 90% of that back.
Okay, so thinking of it as avoiding financial disaster, not just covering small bills, that really reframes that annual cost. And it seems the market gets this because there's a huge range of price points out there now.
Exactly right. The sources we looked at break it down pretty clearly into three main tiers based on what you pay each month. First, you've got the economic plans. These run about, say, 5 to 15 euro a month. But, and this is important, your reimbursement is usually capped at 50% to 70%.
Okay, so lower coverage.
Then you step up to the intermediate plans. Now you're looking at 15 to 40 euro monthly. And the coverage jumps significantly into that much safer 70% to 90% range.
Better peace of mind there.
And finally, there are the premium plans. These start around 30, maybe go over 50 euro a month. But for that, you can get coverage potentially up to 100%.
Right, so let's make that concrete. You're bringing home a new puppy. The data suggests a basic accident and illness plan might start around 11 to 18 euros a month. But if you want something really comprehensive, high limits, maybe wellness add-ons, you're probably looking at 28 to 40 euros a month right from the start. Okay, so we've covered the why. Now let's get into the who. The sources really highlighted 5 main providers worth a closer look: Coty, Lassie, Barkibu, Santevet, and the newer Fidel Ami Santé. Let's start with Barkibu. They seem to be pushing hard on the digital front.
Yeah, Barkibu, they actually started in Spain, is all about making things easy and convenient. Their big thing, their unique selling proposition is this integrated vet chat service. It's 2047 included in every plan. Plus, the whole claims process is 100% digital. And yeah, they often have the lowest entry price, sometimes under 10 euro a month. Coverage is typically around 80% reimbursement, with an annual limit usually about 3,000 euro.
Okay, digital, convenient, maybe cheaper entry point. Sounds good. But are there any, potential downsides or things to watch out for with Barkibu?
There is one key detail in the fine print: the 20% variable copay. See, they don't have a fixed annual deductible, which sounds nice up front, but it means you pay 20% of every single vet bill every time you make a claim, and you pick your own vet. They rely on your choice.
Ah, right. That variable copay is a really different model, isn't it, compared to traditional insurance? It means you, the owner, are always sharing some of that immediate cost. Okay, moving on then. What about Lassie, the Swedish company focused on prevention?
Lassie's approach is quite clever, actually. Their USP is rewarding good behavior. They use an app to encourage you to do preventive care, learn more about pet health, and doing that can actually lower your premiums over time. Another big plus, especially for expats, is they offer English language support. Now, while they can offer up to 100% reimbursement, just be aware their annual caps, the maximum they'll pay out per year, tend to be a bit lower than others. Think 1,000 to 2,500 typically.
Interesting model, rewarding prevention.
Okay.
Okay, next up is Kozu, a French provider known for flexibility.
Yes, Kazoo is really known for being adaptable. They offer what they call an a la carte system, so you can really tailor your policy. You can add things like wellness cover for routine stuff or specific chronic condition coverage if needed. A really good point for them is they cover more than just dogs and cats. They extend to other companion animals too. And they seem pretty efficient. They boast about fast reimbursements, often claiming within 48 hours.
48 hours is quick. Okay, then there's the big one, Santevet, probably the name most people in France recognize.
Definitely. Santevet is the most established player, the best-known brand historically. They have a really diverse range of plans, and they're particularly known for covering what they call NAC's new companion animals. So things like rabbits, ferrets, even chinchillas.
Ah, that's a niche.
It is. The main caveat with Santevet is they're generally less focused on the digital side compared to the newer companies. And we did see some warnings that their price increases, especially as your pet gets older, can be quite steep, particularly for, large breeds prone to issues.
Right, age-related increases are always something to check. Finally, let's look at Fidel Ami Sante. They only launched last year, 2024. They're pitching themselves as the most inclusive option out there. What's their angle?
They are trying to shake things up, for sure. Their headline feature, their big USP, is zero deductible, or franchise as it's called here. That means the insurance pays from the very first euro of any covered claim. No threshold you have to meet first. And crucially, they say they cover conditions that are often specifically excluded by other insurers. Things like hip dysplasia, C-section, certain spinal problems, and they guarantee lifetime coverage once you're in.
Wow, zero deductible and covering things like hip dysplasia. That sounds almost too good to be true, especially for certain breeds.
Yeah.
Given they're so new, where are they maybe still, playing catch up?
Well, they're definitely still building their presence and systems. Being new means they don't have the long track record or volume of customer reviews like the others. We also noticed there's less transparency online about their specific price breakdowns compared to competitors. And perhaps most importantly for day-to-day convenience, they don't have a mobile app yet. You're submitting claims the slightly older way via email or web forms.
Right, okay. That makes sense for a newcomer. So for anyone listening who's maybe moving to France or just entering this market, especially expats, this next bit is really crucial. We need to talk about the nuts and bolts, the fine print, eligibility. So if I'm an expat landing in France, what's the very first hurdle to getting pet insurance?
Okay, yeah. There are 4 absolute must-haves before any major French insurer will even consider your application. First, pretty obviously, you need a French residential address. Second, you must have a bank account based in France, or at least one that's SEPA compatible, basically. You need an IBAN for the direct debits. Third, your pet has to be microchipped. It needs to be an ISO-compliant chip and registered either in France or within the EU system. And fourth, you need valid vaccination records. Rabies vaccination is usually the one they check most carefully.
Got it. Address, bank account, microchip, vaccinations. Okay, once you tick those boxes, understanding how the policy actually works is vital to avoid nasty surprises later. Let's clarify that really important difference between a deductible and a copay. People mix these up all the time.
They do, and it's a really key distinction in the French market. So a deductible, the franchise, is that fixed amount, usually per year, that you have to pay out of pocket before the insurance kicks in at all. Fidelami, as we said, makes a big deal of having zero deductible. A copay, though, is different. It's a percentage of the vet bill that you pay for each claim. Like Barkibu's 20% variable copay we mentioned. You pay 20% of every bill instead of hitting an annual deductible first. You really need to know which system your plan uses.
Super important distinction. And the other big trap for new policyholders must be the delayed occurrence, the waiting periods.
Oh, absolutely. These waiting periods are standard. You'll find them pretty much across the board with French insurers, so you can't just switch providers to avoid them. But how long you wait does vary. Accidents nearly always have the shortest delay, like kazoo is just 48 hours. Illnesses take longer. You might see 28 days with Barkibu, maybe 45 days with Santevet. But, and this is key for some specific serious conditions or planned surgeries, the waiting period can be much, much longer. Santevet, for instance, might require 120 days for certain major operations.
4 months. Okay, need to plan ahead. And finally, on the fine print, what are the typical things excluded from cover that listeners should definitely look out for in any French contract?
You have to read that section carefully because standard exclusions almost universally rule out any conditions that existed before you took out the policy. Those are pre-existing or hereditary issues. Also, usually excluded is anything related to breeding, pregnancy, or purely cosmetic procedures. And on the flip side, remember that routine preventive care like annual shots or dental cleaning usually isn't covered either,
Right.
unless you specifically pay extra for an optional wellness or prevention package add-on.
And we mentioned only Kazoo and Santevet really offer those specific wellness packages that pay back routine costs. Lassie encourages prevention with rewards but doesn't actually reimburse the vet visit itself, another key difference to note. Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you, the pet owner navigating this?
Well, it seems the French pet insurance market in 2025 really does offer a lot of tailored options. You've got everything from the super digital, low friction experience with Barkibu or Lassie, focusing on speed and ease, all the way to the sort of traditional comprehensive cover like Santevet or the inclusive zero deductible approach of Fidélami Santé. You can definitely find something that fits your budget and how much risk you're comfortable with, but you absolutely have to shop around based on your pet's age, its breed, and crucially, whether you prefer that franchise deductible model or a copay system. And if we just connect this back to the bigger picture for a second, it's interesting to recall that historical point from the sources. French vets, historically, have operated in this environment with high-tech equipment and high costs. But their average income hasn't always stacked up well against, say, human doctors. They've always relied entirely on these unregulated private fees.
That background context does raise a really interesting question about where things might be heading.
It really does, because you look at these new digital-first insurers like Barkibu, like Lassie, and their whole focus is intensely on streamlining claims, making things efficient, bringing cost transparency directly to you, the customer. So the question to maybe leave you with is, how might this huge push towards digital tech and efficiency start to influence the actual cost, the quality, and maybe most importantly, the accessibility of that private, high-spec veterinary care here in France over the next, say, 5 to 10 years? It feels like a shift that could really change the financial dynamic between pet owners and their vets down the line.
An excellent thought to chew on indeed. Thank you again for sharing the sources for this deep dive. And thanks to you for listening. We'll catch you next time.